Giving Kamala Harris control over inflation policy, Shannon, it's like giving Jeffrey Epstein control over human trafficking policy. The American people are much smarter than that. They don't buy the idea that Kamala Harris represents a fresh start. She is more of the same. It is doubling down on the failed policies of the Harris administration to give Kamala Harris a promotion rather than to fire her, which is what I think most Americans are going to do.
Of all the analogies J.D. Vance could have come up with to regain some footing with the reeling Trump campaign, he chose to bring up Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah, Jeffrey Epstein.
Epstein is a terrific guy.
Well, I knew him like everybody in Palm Beach knew him. I mean, people in Palm Beach knew him. He was a fixture in Palm Beach. I had a falling out with him a long time ago. I don't think I've spoken to him for 15 years. I wasn't a fan. I was not, a long time ago. I'd say maybe 15 years. I was not a fan of his, that I can tell you.
Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison, and so a lot of people want to know if she's going to turn in powerful people. Do you feel that she's going to turn in powerful men? How do you see that working out?
I don't know. I haven't really been following it too much. I just wish her well, frankly. I've met her numerous times over the years, especially since I lived in Palm Beach, and I guess they lived in Palm Beach. But I wish her well.
Would you declassify the 9/11 files?
Yeah.
Would you declassify JFK files?
Yeah.
Would you,
I did a lot of it.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
I guess I would. I think that less so because, you don't know. You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there because there's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world.
See, now anyone that was watching that Fox News interview is thinking about how tight Trump and Epstein were and how scared Trump is to reveal everything about the trafficking ring that he ran. If JD wanted to insult VP Harris, he could have easily said, putting her in charge of inflation is like choosing me as your running mate. But now it's too late.
With so many seeking his confidence, there's one thing that no one will tell him. What's most in need of fixing is the candidate himself. Who is the president listening to, and are there going to be more changes at the top of the campaign?
Well, anybody who knows President Trump will tell you he listens to everybody. I think it's one of his great strengths as a leader is he solicits opinion from his campaign staff to the people who serve him his food at a restaurant. He's trying to get feedback from everybody because he actually wants to understand where the American people are on the issues of the day. What a lot of the people who are giving Donald Trump advice would, I think, do well to understand is that Donald Trump is carrying the message out there to the American people every single day. I'm doing it every single day, and we're just going to keep on doing it for the next 80 days, and that's how we persuade the American people.
In other words, shut up with your advice. Despite how many allies of his are screaming for him to stop campaigning on how much he doesn't respect the vice president, Vance believes that they're carrying a good message. So don't believe political supporters, and definitely don't believe polling now that it no longer favors you.
This is what we have out from some new polling out of the New York Times. They say Ms. Harris is now leading Mr. Trump among likely voters in Arizona 50-45 and is even edged ahead of Mr. Trump in North Carolina, a state Mr. Trump won 4 years ago, while narrowing his lead significantly in Georgia and Nevada. What is the administration doing, the campaign doing with that data as it comes in? I mean, these are critical states that you got to have a path to 270. Are there any pivots? Are there any, reconfiguring of what you're doing in the strategy? Because you talk about your message, but is it not landing?
The polls tend to radically overstate Democrats. We certainly saw that during the polling of summer of 2020 and summer of 2016. And of course, a lot of those polls were wrong when it came to Election Day. But what we've actually seen from our own internal data, Shannon, is that Kamala Harris has already leveled off. If you talk to insiders in the Kamala Harris campaign, they're very worried about where they are.
Nothing to worry about, Shannon, even though Trump has been fixated on poll numbers, claiming that he's way ahead when he's not. As a matter of fact, the Harris campaign is worried about the polling.
How does that not line up then with another poll we got out this morning, Washington Post, ABC? They're giving the vice president nationally a 4 to 5 point lead. Those are new numbers. So if you think the momentum is not swinging, or your internal polls are suggesting differently, every other poll that's been released has shown great momentum in her direction.
Consistently, what you've seen in 2016 and 2020 is that the media uses fake polls to drive down Republican turnout and to create dissension and conflict with Republican voters.
So now polling is a media tool meant to drive dissension among Republicans. Was it driving dissension when Trump was leading in the polls? Why wasn't the media manipulating and creating fake polls when Joe Biden needed all this help? Does the media only work for Kamala Harris and not Joe Biden? And is Fox News part of the media that's looking to create division inside of the Trump-Vance ticket? It's gotten to the point that JD needs to take questions in a more comfortable setting.
Senator Vance, what's your message to Pennsylvania voters on abortion? Has your opinion changed? Do you think there should be a national ban, or should it be left up to the states?
Look, it's okay. It's all right. It's all right. Look, first of all, I think it's important to be honest about what Donald Trump and I are focused on here. And what Donald Trump and I are focused on is making the American dream affordable again for Pennsylvania families. That is what we're focused on.
For a campaign that complains about Harris not doing media tours and answering questions in the first month of her candidacy, they sure look desperate when they have a press conference with a home team audience ready to boo questions about their policies against reproductive rights. And the worst part is that they had these appearances and still didn't answer the question about his abortion stance. So we're getting just as many actual answers from Vance in press conferences as we are from Harris or Walz. There were a couple more questions that he didn't really want to answer either at this same presser.
As you talk about the economy, what does the Trump-Vance ticket believe the federal minimum wage should be? If Trump gets a second term, would he support raising it, or should it stay the same? And is there a specific number that he would support it at?
Well, look, President Trump believes very strongly that the best way to promote raising Americans' wages is with tight labor markets. When an employer has got to pay a good wage to attract the right people, and the way that you destroy, whether you have a higher minimum wage or a lower minimum wage, the way to destroy the wages of American workers is to import 20 million illegal aliens and let them stay here with work visas.
In other words, they don't believe in a livable minimum wage, and they trust companies and corporations to do the right thing, claiming that they're forced to pay fairly in order to attract employees, even though they're incentivized by our same system to do everything that they can to short workers to keep a dollar in their own pocket. Trump and Musk just bragged about how fun it is to fire employees that deserve better pay and work conditions. But the best part of Vance's answer was when he blamed CEO greed on migrants that drive down wages. He maybe should have checked with Trump, before he disparaged his boss's migrant worker strategy. Here, watch.
The way to destroy the wages of American workers is to import 20 million illegal aliens and let them stay here with work visas.
Basically, we're going to drill, baby, drill. We're going to get the energy prices down almost immediately, and we're going to close the border, and we're going to get the crooked ones out, the bad ones out. And we're going to let a lot of people come in, and we're going to let a lot of people come in, and we're going to let a lot of people come in, because we need more people, especially with AI coming and all of the different things, and the farmers need, everybody needs. But we're going to make sure that they're not murderers, killers, drug dealers, and the kind of people that we have largely coming in right now.
Vance and Trump's completely contradictory plans for both welcoming in migrants for work and claiming that they're the reason for exploiting American workers came only a few days apart from each other. Trump is one of the guys that's happy to exploit folks that have crossed the border looking for work, while at the same time calling them all drug dealers, rapists, and animals. So to be fair to JD, Trump disproves his own points on a regular basis too. The kinds of press conferences that they need are the ones that don't ask about their well-documented statements on how much they hate women and minorities. They need questions that'll really show voters where they stand on serious issues like this.
How often can we expect you to be in Pennsylvania, and where are you getting your cheesesteak and why?
Well, I'm going to be in Pennsylvania as much as you find people will have me. How does that sound, all right?